Hey everyone, it's Game Fruit Pulp. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Today is the normal AnitziCraft recording day, but we're not going to be doing an AnitziCraft video today. I'm going to be doing a video sort of talking about a change on Minecraft that I have been advocating for a long time, and I figured it's finally time that I do an actual video on this. I'm going to be doing a couple videos like this over the next couple weeks about things that I think really need to be changed. I did one a few months ago with like the top 5, or not the top 5, but like a kind of thing where all the videos were in one, all the changes were in one video. I'm not going to be doing that in this video. What I'm going to be doing instead is each specific change is going to get its own video, so that if you're not interested in one of the proposed changes, you don't need to watch through all the ones I don't want, or you don't want to get to the one you do think is a good idea. So today we're going to be talking about the thing that I think is the most important required change in Minecraft. I am a little bit biased because of this current project in Toronto, as you can see, but I think that the most needed change to Minecraft is increasing the build limit. So I'm going to talk about in this video why I think that that's the most important change, as well as how I think this should be implemented, because I do have a way that I think it should be implemented. But to start, we're going to sort of just talk about Minecraft a little bit. For those of you who don't know, the build limit set right now in Minecraft is 256 blocks. It used to be 128, and then they doubled it. So my proposal is that they double it again, but also implement negative blocks. So basically, by doubling 256, you would increase the total to 512 as the height limit. But I also think that they should go negative 512. Now, this might sound crazy. There's a reason for it. First of all, in Minecraft, the coordinates are x, y, and z. There's x, there's y, there's z. X and z can go negative, but the y value can't. Now you're thinking, how could you have negative y value if the value is height? So this sort of goes into something I'll talk a little bit later about how the implementation should work. But I think that there should be positive 512 blocks and negative 512 blocks for a total of 1,024 blocks that you can build with. Now, this still isn't the most you could build in Minecraft, but the most like height that I think you need for all projects. But for most projects, it would be within the reasonable amount of, like, if you're building something more than 1,000 blocks high, you're kind of going crazy unless it's a mountain. But the reason that I think the block height needs to be increased is pretty simple. If you're trying to build in 1-to-1 scale, like I'm doing in Toronto, a lot of the builds you can't do. If you're looking at just Toronto, there's 7 builds that are above the height limit right now. There's 2 more builds in Toronto that are being built currently in real life, not in this game. In real life, that are currently being built in Toronto that I know of, that are going to be above the height limit of 256 blocks if I were to copy them on a 1-to-1 scale. Obviously, Minecraft has been out for quite a few years now. People are trying to find unique and new things to do with them. And I think that 1-to-1 scale building is something that could be pretty cool, and something that could give Minecraft a whole other use. Really, if you have an entire city that has buildings done in it at a 1-to-1 scale, for example, say Toronto is done at a 1-to-1 scale, the entire city, doing things like planning new infrastructure projects. You could have models built of what you're planning in Minecraft. Obviously, if you can't build the tallest buildings in the city, you can't do that. And so I think that that's one thing that really is important for this sort of advocacy for an increase in build height. That's the reason I care about it so much. But the other real important thing is sort of terrain generation. And right now, deep ocean's not very deep. It's like 30 blocks deep. That's not very deep. If you can see the bottom of the ocean, like, that's not realistic. You can't see the bottom of the ocean when you're on the surface. So terrain itself, in addition to building structure, think of all the things you could do with terrain if you had an extra 500 blocks to deal with. You could have mountains that actually look like mountains. You could have ravines that were unbelievably deep and detailed. And you could do all these different things with the game. Imagine map makers, custom map makers, all the different things they could do. And so obviously, there's so much opportunity if you increase the build height to build more things. I actually did a post about this on the Minecraft suggestion page, and it's on the main page now, which is good. Obviously, people are seeing it. I think last time I checked, it had 30 plus votes, or 30 votes that should suggest this change, which was the 5th or 6th highest on the website. So obviously, it's getting noticed. But I just want to continue to advocate for this thing that I think is pretty important in the game. If you're looking, even just in Toronto again, sticking with my Toronto example because that's the most relevant to me, this building, this TD building, is I think the 4th or 5th, not the 4th or 5th, the 7th or 8th tallest building in the city, and it's leaving me with 40 blocks to build with. The CN Tower is 556 blocks, 556 meters high. So right now, I almost need 2 of what the current height limit is for me to build at a 1-to-1 scale. And look at how amazing this thing looks at a 1-to-1 scale, this building here. and the CN Tower is almost double this. So just think about how the things you would be able to do in the game if we had more of a height limit to build with. And I think it's one of the things that it's not really that big of a change. It's not a change that anyone can dislike, because if you don't like the new height limit, you don't need to use it. It's not like they're adding a new block or a new mob where it's kind of forced upon you, or a new PvP system or anything like that. It's simply a change to the back end of the game that will allow people to build higher. And so if people want to build higher, they can. And I think it's something that really, I can't think of a single downside other than maybe performance. Performance, it might be more difficult for computers to run if there's big builds. But I can't think of any significant issues to this proposal. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really so firmly behind it, because I can't think of a single con. If you can, let me know in the comments, but I can't. So I guess the second part now is something I touched on a little bit earlier in the video, and that's the implementation of this change. So I wanted, like I said, I wanted 1,000 blocks. I think 1,000 blocks would be the best building limit to have, with 512 above, 512 below. First of all, the reason for this is because I was told that it needs to be a multiple. The reason they doubled the height limit from 128 to 256 is because it needs to be a multiple of, I can't remember what it needs to be a multiple of, but something that is a multiple of both those two, so they doubled it. So by simply doubling 256 and adding it to positive and negative, you would be able to keep in the same multiplier of whatever the variable needs to be for it to work and not break the game. That's why I said 512. Now, what my idea is that you would move the water level. Currently, I think the sea level in Minecraft is 68, I believe. And so I might be wrong. I think it's 68. It's something in the 60s. And so my plan was to move the water level, or sea level, to 0. And simply by doing that, anything below the sea level would be negative, just like in real life. If you're going on elevation, you go elevation of sea level. That's your 0. Your 0 is sea level. If you're below sea level, you have a negative elevation. If you're above sea level, that's your elevation. And so by doing this, it makes it simple enough to implement that you can understand it still. The negatives would simply be below sea level. The only thing you'd have to rework is mining and things like that. If the caves are bigger, if the seas are lower, then you're going to need to rework the mining levels and stuff like that. But I think that would provide the best way to implement this change, rather than just have a height increase where you have to build up, like everything on the ground stays the same and you just have infinite amounts of sky above you. I think that'd look kind of odd if you have the ground is only 60 blocks deep and the height is 900 blocks. That's not really going to be well balanced. And so it would provide Minecraft with an opportunity to rebuild the caving systems as well, make them more diverse, more intense, the ravines, different things like that. You can make bigger, everything can just be done bigger, really. The oceans will be bigger, the mountainous areas could be bigger, like all these different things that, like, they look okay right now, but if you were able to sort of give them more space to work, give terrain more area to grow upon, think of all of the things that it could do. Even like if you look at for example, the biomes in Anitsi-Craft, all the Epic World Generator biomes and all the diversity of trees and stuff like that. Imagine what you could do with volcanoes and all these things if you had more space. Let alone these builds, because the city builds obviously are great, and like I'm a big city builder. That's why I want to advocate for this issue. But if you're not a big city builder and you're something else, you're parkour, you're anything, every single thing in Minecraft can be benefited if you add more space for you to build vertically. There's not a single thing that will be impacted negatively by increasing the vertical build space. And so I just think it's an issue, or a addition to the game that everyone can get behind, really. And so I hope that you find the same thing. I hope that you think this is a good idea. And I'd love to hear feedback for and against this issue. And if you do think that this is something that isn't a good idea, I would love to know why. Because I've brought up this issue a lot in the past, and no one's really told me ideas against it. And that's not good for debate. Obviously, in a good debate, you have points for and against. And I think it's important to know points against so you can sort of formulate a better way to implement something like this. Because if I can't think of any negative things, and there is some, when you go to implement these things, like the increased build height, you'll sort of forget to look at the negative effects, because I didn't even know there were any, and that sort of will have an impact on the rollout of something like this. So if you do have any negative or positive feedback, be sure to leave it in the comments down below. If you're a new viewer to the channel and you enjoyed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer and you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and a favorite and share the channel with some of your friends to help the channel keep growing. Aside from that, you'll see a Rocket League video on Wednesday. Finally getting back to 2 games in that, so it should be an exciting time. But aside from that, that's pretty much everything. I hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Game Through Pulp. This has been Minecraft, flying around the building Toronto world. and I will catch you guys all on Wednesday. Have a good one, and I'll see you later.